Welcome to the Velocity Tuning channel. Big news for our shop car that I'm going to go through with you guys today, and that is we have finally gone over to a single turbo. For you guys that follow the channel, you would have known that we've been on the Mosselman hybrids for the best part of this year, and we was trying to look at alternatives to get more power, and unfortunately that just didn't work out for us. It looks like the sweet spot with hybrid turbos is around 41 psi, and past that point all our tests have shown that all we do is generate a load of heat, a load of strain for not much gain above. So what I would say, if you're looking to make up to 1100 brake, hybrid turbos are the best option. They're brilliant, very fast to come on power, drives like a normal car, and of course it is crazy fast. But if you're looking to go above that point, then you've got to do what we've done here and convert to a single turbo. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing the parts that we've had to change since fitting a single turbo. Mainly there's 4 things that have restricted us at this point, and go over the different control systems for the wastegate. So we've now gone over to a MAC valve instead of having the EWG set up, but I'm going to explain how all the different wastegates work so you can find out what's going to work best on your setup. Here we have it, big precision turbo, 7680. All the fabrication work on this car has been done by Overkill Performance, so big shout out to them. Now, for you to convert over from hybrids to a single turbo, you're going to need a new exhaust manifold, you're going to need a new boost pipe to go over to the inlet manifold, you're going to need a new single downpipe, because remember, usually you have 2 downpipes, and you're going to need custom oil lines. If you go for a Garrett turbo, you're going to need custom oil lines as well, but with this being a precision turbo, it is only oil cooled, not coolant cooled as well. In the engine bay, it does look quite different now. I mean, we've got this big turbo here. We did used to have an M Venturi sat there. We did have the coolant up here. That has now been relocated over to this side. And we did have an air box here, which is where the coolant and our catch can is now fitting. So usually your breather system will go back into the turbo inlet. We don't have a turbo inlet no more. We just have this. So we now breathe into a catch can system where we can monitor the amount of oil that is being blown by. And we also breathe through our oil filler cap, which before was obviously just a sealed part. So we've got more breathing for the crankcase, and we're no longer breathing back into the engine. We're collecting it all in this little pot here. With the mapping, we've done 3 different setups. The first one is 99 RON only. On that, we're making just over 800 brake, which you'll probably think is pretty tame. Yeah, it is. And to be honest, I think that is a perfect amount of power for daily use. That gets us on the road a 4.900 to 200. So if you're on a stock turbo with ethanol, you're not going to be a million miles away from what we're doing with this car. If you was on a hybrid turbo on 99 RON as well, you'd be looking to make similar power to what we're doing with this. So nothing too crazy. But once we turn on the meth injection, things get a little bit faster. So we're now making 1060 brake on our daily meth map, and on the road that equates to a 3.900 to 200. So big jump once we turn the methanol on, and that's how I want it. Now we've got our third map, which is where the fun's really going to begin to happen, and that is E85, and so far we're at 1200 brake, but we've got loads of room to go for on that. We've been on E85 only for a few revisions, and we're gradually feeding up the boost, but we've already seen limitations in this setup with the E85, and we're having to change things as we go. First limitation, injectors. We had 1050X injectors in here on our port injection system with 2 Walbro 450s. If you want to know more about our fueling setup, our last video for what it takes to make a 1000 brake car goes through a lot of that, but we've now upgraded those to 1700cc injectors because we was running out of duty. I do like to run these particularly rich. I could have leaned it out, but I'd rather have the safety there, so we've added in some bigger injectors. The second limitation we've seen is grip. So on the dyno, I don't use my sticky tyres, I use my 4S's, but out on the road, those 4S's are barely holding on. You can do a run with them, but you will pick up a bit of spin, so we've had to switch back to our track tyres for our road logging, and when we go on the dyno, we have to put the 4S's on. The third big restriction we're starting to see is the fact that we're on stock cams. So as we're increasing the boost, we're seeing a linear gain in performance until we reach a certain point. And what we're seeing from that is the amount of boost we're adding in ain't equating to the same amount of horsepower coming down at the wheels. Why is that? Well, it's because this engine was never built for a single turbo. It was built for hybrid turbos, and as such, it's on stock cams, stock valves, and stock valve springs. So we have built another engine for it, and we are going to have to swap them over at some point because this engine, The cams are just too restrictive once we're at high flow. That's not the only potential issue that we could see with this engine as well. It's on stock head bolts also, which means that if we run a lot of boost, we could lift that head up because those stock bolts can stretch and move. So on our other engine, we've got the ARP custom-made studs, and that will help us get a lot more clamping force on the head so we haven't got as much chance of lifting it. It hasn't happened yet, but it is something that could happen as we increase the boost to run faster. At the moment, we're only running a 3.6 out on the road because, like I said, I couldn't get no grip. So I've got quite a lot of headroom in the boost that I want to use, but I got caught out by injectors and tyres. Now all of that has been eliminated for us. We could find that this engine can't actually hold the boost. Unexpected video update. So I now have no front splitter because I hit a brick, but it don't matter. I'm happy anyway, because we just been out in the car, I say we, me, and I ran a 3.3300 to 200. So with the stock cams and the stock head studs, I ain't pushing it no more because 3.3 is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not going to put it back on the dyno just yet because I've got the track tyres on it and I have switched it back over to 99 RON, but as an estimate, I'd say it's probably making very high 1200 brake to low 1300 brake. So we're sitting around 1300 brake with this now. Once the other engine goes in, I will push on it a little bit more. I'm running quite high boost, so that run that I've just done was at 48 PSI, and I was at actual boost of about 47. But once the engine's switched over, once it's all bedded in, I will then see if I can do 50 pounds or even more boost on it and see if I can get that 2.900 to 200. When it comes to Forged engines, they're not all the same. So this one literally just has rods and pistons in it. The other engine that we've built has the GSC Stage 2 cams with the matching valves and valve springs. We have fire rings cut out into the head. We've got it sleeved. We've got ARP main caps, and we've done ARP throughout with all the head studs and all the other little bits that come with it. That is going to help us hold a lot more power without having to worry about head lift, and the cams are not going to be a restriction for us anymore. So although this engine is literally perfect for a hybrid setup, if you want to go for more power like you're doing with a single turbo, you may find that you actually need an engine build that's got a little bit more done to it. I'm over at Workshop 3. This is where we do our Cotty built transmissions. This is where we build the engines as well. And behind me is my built engine ready to go in the G80 M3. So you guys will already know that the engine currently in it is already forged, but it's a basic forged job. It's got rods and pistons, all the head studs, all the head on it, all that sort of stuff is completely stock. Where this one, if we have a little look on it, we'll lift it up. These cams, these valves, these head studs are all uprated, and plus we've done a couple of other little modifications to the head as well that are going to help us keep it reliable at high power. And I'm hoping to get this put in really soon now because I don't want to run any harder on the engine that's in there. It's done what I wanted it to do, and hopefully I can get it in, I can get it run in, and the weather won't be completely ruined, so I can push on it a bit harder. I'm currently at a 300 to 200, which I've done earlier today. Circle of around 1300 brake, but with this one, I want to push another 100, maybe even 200 brake horsepower to get to my final target of a 2.900 to 200. In terms of single turbos out there, I'd say in selection-wise, this is around a medium to large size. The guys out there that are really, really fast, they're going for larger turbos than this, but there's a lot of people out there that are going much, much smaller than this because they want quicker spool. Now, what we've found with this setup is we're hitting big boost by around 4200, which, you know, is quite high up the rev range, especially when you compare it to a stock or hybrid turbo, but there is a workaround. Anti-lag. With anti-lag at 3000 RPM, we can be at 30 PSI, we can make all the boost we want, we just take our hand off the steering wheel and we go. So although that the turbos do come into boost later, there is the workaround, which is the anti-lag system. So let's talk about boost control. You might have gone for the boot mod rev board, you might be using a reflex, but you're going to need to control your turbo and your port injection somehow. So when it comes to these big turbo setups, there's two common setups that you're going to see. One is using a MAC valve and one is still using EWG. On our car, we've decided to go with a MAC valve, and I'm going to discuss the differences between them and the reason why we went down that route. When it comes to wastegate systems, there's three main types that you're going to see. This first one is vacuum. So if you get an F10 N5, if you get an N54 or an early N55, it uses vacuum or sucking to close the wastegate off. So that means that the car is able to make zero boost all the way up to say 20, 25, even 30 pounds of boost if you want it to. So this system relies on a vacuum pump and then uses suction to draw this closed, which is how you make your boost. Second wastegate control system, and what this comes with a standard EWG. So you're going to find that the F10 M5 had vacuum, but the F90 M5 used electronic wastegate, as did the F80, the B58s, and a lot more of the modern B&Ws. Now, just like that vacuum system, this can target 0, 1, 2, 3 PSI, very low amounts, but it's a very fast, accurate system. Vacuum has no way of measuring its exact wastegate position. It just has to guess it, relying on the amount of boost that the car's making. But this can set the exact position, so it's a lot more accurate and it's very sharp and very fast. The third type of system is a MAC valve. So how this works is you have a wastegate spring. So this is much more conventional for you older guys out there. You're going to recognize this. You have a minimum boost that it's always going to try to make on that spring. So for example, we have a 21 pound boost spring in that. So that means at full load, my car can never target less than 21 pounds of boost unless it's just spooling up and whatnot, or I'm at half throttle. If I'm at full load, I've got to make 21 PSI of boost. I've got no choice in it. You may find that if the car gets upset about that, you're going to get throttle closures and whatnot, but you don't have that lower boost control. So why are we using that system then? If it gives us less scope below what we want, well, I'm not really interested in running below 21 PSI. In fact, I actually want to run double that. And this is the best way to do it. This gives us the easiest, most fastest control. So we have our base spring pressure, and then we have a wastegate. And at the bottom, it gets fed pressure straight from the turbo, and that's what lifts it up as it gets to 21 PSI and lets the additional gases out. But this little MAC valve can apply pressure back onto the top of the wastegate and stop it opening. So you can run roughly 2.5 times the amount of boost that you've got on the spring, which for us is going to sit us roughly around 50 PSI. This is a very good system to control, and for oscillations and smoothness, it's amazing. So what we found is on our third revision, or actually our second revision, because we had our first map, we had perfect boost control. We was targeting within half a PSI of what we wanted within 2 revisions. And that's because this is a very easy system to work with. It's going to allow us to make big power in a good, consistent way. And that's why we've switched over to a MAC valve control system. So what's our goals with this car now? I'll tell you. So firstly, 100 to 200, I want this car in the 2s. I don't care if it's a 2.99 downhill, I just want it to do a 2-second 100 to 200. My S1000 does around a 3.7, 3.8, so we've already got this faster than our normal super bike, but I have a turbo bike that runs in the 2s that's, you know, out on the road we run it about 360, 370 brake, capable of 460 brake. That thing will give me a 2-second run, and I want to match that with this car, and I reckon to do that I'm going to need about 1500 brake, and hence why I'm finding that we're going to need a better engine, we're going to need bigger injectors, we need sticky tyres, and we're finding loads of limitations along the way. I'm also interested in running a 8-second quarter mile. I want it to be deep into the 8s as well, so I'm not looking for like an 8.99 in that instance. I'd like something like an 8.5, an 8.6, an 8.7, something like that. So we've got bead locks for the back of this already, but we've now ordered bead locks for the front of it as well, because we know we're going to need as much traction as possible to run those fast times. So what does 1200 brake feel like? Here's a quick video for you to see me and my friend doing a quick pull. So for you guys that don't know, this does have a built engine, and it does also have a stage 2 Cotty transmission in it as well, so the box is also built. But what we're going to actually find is, now we've got this bigger turbo, it's going to be harder to get a good launch because the RPMs are going to be too low and we're not going to be in boost. But there's a workaround for that, and it's quite a heavy workaround, but here it is. This is a Circle D torque converter, so as you can see, it's pretty fancy. It's billet, and what this will allow us to do is higher RPM when we're doing our launch controls. That's going to get us back into a range of RPM where we're on boost and allow us to get a really fast 60 foot when trying to do our quarter mile runs. I'm a little bit out of breath picking that thing up. It weighs over 20 kilos. So when we switch the engines over, that's also going to get switched over. But it's November here, so I probably won't be doing any super duper quarter mile runs in the near future. So why the quick change around on things? Well, once I decided that I weren't going to get where I wanted to get with the hybrid turbos, I realised that we was coming into the winter months, so I was in a bit of a rush to get this done. So this car, we only decided that we wanted to do a single turbo on it about 2 weeks ago. Luckily, the guys at Overkill were able to facilitate us and fabricate the system that we wanted. They have also done us 2 exhaust systems. So the first one, the downpipe goes into our titanium velocity main full system, which is brilliant because we've been able to keep our own parts on the car, but we have another system as well, a race pipe. So this goes straight onto the back of the downpipe. We've got no midsection, no back box, no nothing. Why would you want this? Well, one, it's super light, and two, minimal back pressure. The turbo's going to spool up quicker, and there's going to be less restrictions at the top end, meaning we can make more boost. Now, with this pipe, it's going to be very noisy, so it ain't something you're going to want to use very often, but for race days, it's going to be a nice little advantage that we could do with. So there's a brief overview of our single turbo conversion on our shop G80. For you guys that want me to reiterate some of the basic things that we've had to do going from a forged engine, we now want better head studs, we now want better cams, we've had to do a catch can system, we had to fit bigger port injectors, and we've had to put stickier tyres on it. And we've needed to put a Circle D billet torque converter on it as well. So when you do these conversions, if you just want to run low power on them, you're going to be absolutely fine. But if you're really looking to optimize your setup, just know that it's not just going to be the turbo that you need. There's a load of other stuff that follows with it. So this is very early days for me on a single turbo. Funny enough, I've never even mapped a single turbo car for anyone out there. This is my first time doing it, so big learning curve for me, but so far it's going really well. We've got good boost control, good timing, all the fueling's great. It hasn't actually been too bad of a thing to do. But I'm really excited for the future. I really want to get that 900 to 200, and I will be keeping you guys up to date with everything that this shop car is doing.